to talk about fairies. Do you believe in fairies? We have fairy tales. We have Tinkerbell. Do we have evidence of fairies, of little beings that flit around with lights that can cause joy or harm? Later, we're going to talk about that. Let's talk about first the place where fairies might light. Hi there, this is Danny from Mysterious Things, where I take an unusual story and I try to find out some insight through tarot. So today's story is about Lilydale. Lilydale, New York, is a community built on 167 acres on the banks of the Casadega Lake, which is about an hour southwest of Buffalo. Lilydale was started in about 1873 as a summer camp or a meeting ground for spiritualists. That's hard to say. Spiritualists. When Willard Allen began hosting his teas and gatherings and picnics, and he decided to purchase about 20 acres and create an organization and a residential community based, or at least comprised, of people who practice the faith of spiritualism. It is now the largest spiritualistic community in the country. Psychics, mediums, healers, and others reside in Lilydale, and they must be vetted to reside there. So in Lilydale, all the members of the community practice the religion of spiritualism and follow its 9 core principles, which are: 1, we believe in God. 2, we believe that God is expressed through all nature. 3, true religion is living in obedience to nature's laws. 4, we never die. 5, spiritualism proves that we can talk with people in the spirit world. 6, be kind, do good, and others will do likewise. 7, we bring unhappiness to ourselves by the errors we make, and we will be happy if we obey the laws of life. 8, every day is a new beginning. 9, prophecy and healing are the expressions of God. This faith is applied through prayer, meditation, healing, and mediumship. The Miriam H. Skidmore Library, located on the grounds, is home to the largest collection of spiritualist books in the world, with thousands of rare books and unique titles. And this is a non-circulating research library, so you can go to it and use the books, but you can't check them out. It hosts a number of events throughout the summer. And there was an HBO documentary called No One Dies in Lilydale made on the area. It's now 167 acres, and there are 275 gifted, registered mediums that live there. So I know lots of you are skeptical of the practice, and lots of people that are skeptical go to visit Lilydale. It's a warm community, and I have to say the age is leaning towards the elderly. Let's put it that way. It's a peaceful place where people gather to listen to guest speakers that come. And it's really only busy and open in the summer. It's cold up there. It's by Buffalo. They have that winter lake effect stuff, you know. So, the Leolynn Woods is what I want to talk about today. It is a 10-acre tract of old-growth forest that is on the grounds of the community of Lilydale. And in the summer, you can go to Lilydale, and you have to pay a fee to get on the grounds. But during the rest of the year, it's free and open to the public. And this little woodlot contains some of the most accessible and very old large trees in the region. Some of the eastern pine are over 135 feet tall. And there's other things in the little woods area: red oak, eastern hemlock, red maple, sugar maple, cucumber, magnolia, black cherry. Some of these trees are 200 to 400 years old. Well, in this woods, people have reported seeing fairies. I know. Fairies. I thought they were only over in Ireland and Scotland. But evidently, they have a fairy trail there, Lilydale Fairy Trail. It's a work in progress. Visitors bring things and build little houses for fairies along this trail. And it's a fun thing to do on an afternoon, to wander through these old woods to see fairies. But do they actually see any? Well, along the fairy trail, along the fairy trail, it's marked by pink fairies on the trees. Visitors keep their eyes open and they look for little fairies flitting about out of the corner of their eye. They've built little houses and villages even, and this trail winds through the woods. So, not only is Lilydale a place to get away from it all with its bucolic setting and its charm, and it's home to some of the best mediums in the world, this is no traveling psychic show. There are full-time residents that call Lilydale home. And when one thinks you can communicate with spirits, we naturally think that you can communicate with other things. So, what about fairies? In the modern era, fairies have mostly been relegated to children's fiction, fairy tales. But hundreds of years ago, adults believed in the existence of fairies. Early fairies weren't cute little pixies. They were lustful and nasty and cruel, and they were as likely to kill you as lead you out into the forest. They were often benevolent, but they could also be vindictive and capricious, and travelers on long journeys, or even those beyond their home, would bring offerings to leave for fairies, cakes and breads and tobaccos and fruit. And in the return, the fairy folk might provide good weather or safe passage from wild beasts and highwaymen out to steal their stuff. Do I believe in fairies? I'm not so sure. That's pretty much of a stretch for me. However, I do have a testimonial from someone who does. So let me read to you what she wrote, and then you can decide for yourself. And we'll ask the cards and see what they come up with, okay? Okay, here's the testimonial. My mom is a psychic medium and has always told me about her fairy hunting stories. I never really believed her and thought she was mistaking lightning bugs or fireflies for fairies. Last night, she began talking about fairy hunting again, and I decided I'd go with her so I could experience what my mom had talked to me about. In Lilydale, they have a fairy trail in the woods, so around 10:30 at night, we headed out into the woods with a flashlight. We get about a half mile out into the woods, and my mom turned off the lights, and she started talking and welcoming the fairies to come in. And at this point, I'm stretched out, feeling super uncomfortable about being in the woods with no light. I was more expecting to see a bear than I was a fairy. And almost instantly, I feel extremely calm and start seeing these flashing lights all around me. Well, I grew up in New York, and I know what lightning bugs look like. It was almost like the sparks you see when you light a lighter. Whatever was making the light was flying because you would see it move. Then my mom tells me to look behind me, and the tree directly behind me almost looked like it had little patches glowing in the dark. And then they began to flash light when they would sing and ask questions. Oh, then they began to flash light when we would sing and ask questions. Now, I don't really know what to make out of this experience. The feeling I had was like no other. Another weird part about this that makes me believe we weren't seeing bugs was that we were asking multiple questions and flashed twice for yes. And every time we asked a question, we got a reply. There were about 2 minutes where we didn't see anything, and my mom asked them to show us their beautiful lights a few more times before we left. And they all started showing us their lights again. So that's her testimonial. What do you think? It kind of brings me to the possibility of existence of fairies in the multi-universe. So as a reminder, the multi-universe is a popular concept in theoretical physics, and it's an extension of the idea of the universe to encompass many possible variations. Under this view, our universe, the total of what's within our cosmic horizon, would be one among others. And a fairy or other being could just poke in like that from their universe into ours when asked, or whatever circumstances would bring them there. So in many theories, different universes could have radically different properties, electrons and protons with different masses and charges, or no electrons at all, things like that. So if by fairies we mean little fabulous entities capable of flight and of magical deeds that defy what we would consider reasonable in this world, well, yeah, by all means, there could be fairies somewhere in the multi-universe. Unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to confirm them, maybe not even see them. So, did this woman see fairies? Did she see something that was different, that was not of our universe? Let's ask the cards. Cards, are there fairies? Hi there. We're back. We're going to look into the existence of fairies, whether in this dimension or another dimension. I'm going to do 3 cards. And 3 cards only about fairies and the existence of fairies. These are such a thing as a fairy. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the first card that we have is the Eight of Pentacles. You can see that she's working really hard here. It's sort of achieving what you're looking for or working towards if you look hard enough. So I would think that that would tell me that if you look hard enough, you can probably find a fairy. That's very interesting. The next is the Five of Pentacles, that there's a loss of some kind. Maybe that's a reduction in population, that there just aren't that many fairies anymore, and that you're going to have to look really hard to find a fairy. Or maybe some reason that they aren't here anymore. And the last is the Knight of Wands, and that wand, she represents travel. Usually shows up when someone is going to move. She's got this little light off behind her, a little blinking light, as if it could be a little fairy back there. I would say that if you are going to find a fairy, you're going to have to actually go searching for one. They're not just going to show up in your backyard. You're going to have to be, there aren't very many of them anymore, and you're going to have to work really hard to try to find one. So I didn't think it would show up that there are any fairies, but it looks to me like there actually may be something to the fairy tales. So have a great week. That's my reading on fairies, and I hope you enjoyed it, and a little bit about Lilydale. If anybody is from that area, I'd love to hear from them, see if they've gone up to look at the fairy trail and the fairies. And it's always nice to have some imagination and creative stuff to think about, whether it's true or not. What's true? We could all be living in a matrix, and nothing's true. So this is just my opinion on it, my intuitions, and it's only for entertainment. So I hope I entertained, and I hope you like and share, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.